Somewhere tonight, a woman is lying on the ground, not in a house, not behind a locked door. On the ground, a thin sheet of nylon stretched over aluminium poles staked into dirt. That's it. That's everything between her body and the largest concentration of apex predators on the African continent. She is unconscious. Her pulse is slow. Her muscles are slack. Her eyes are closed. 60 meters away, something is watching. It weighs 400 pounds. It can accelerate to 35 miles per hour in 3 strides. Its canines are 3 inches long and built to sever the spinal cord of a wildebeest in a single bite. It has been awake for hours, moving through the dark with a silence that borders on the impossible. And it can smell her, every molecule of her. The salt on her skin, the residue of the meal she cooked at dusk, the faint chemical bloom of sunscreen still trapped in the weave of her shirt. It stands there. Then it turns around and walks away. This happens every single night, across every continent where large predators still exist, and almost no one asks the obvious question. Why? The instinct is to say something simple. Fire. Tense. Human intelligence. We outsmarted them. That answer is comfortable. It's also incomplete in ways that are genuinely disturbing once you begin to pull on the thread. Because the truth is not a single mechanism. It is a system, ancient, layered, and woven so deeply into the biology of every predator alive today that most of them will never override it. Not because they can't, but because the cost of overriding it has been written into their genetics by 2 million years of consequence. Start with what sounds like arrogance, but is actually just natural history. You are one of the most dangerous organisms that has ever existed on this planet. Not you, personally. You, the species, the lineage, the thing that walks upright and has been killing everything larger than itself since before it had language to name what it was killing. Humans hunted mammoths to extinction. We erased the giant ground sloths, the woolly rhinoceros, the cave bear, the saber-toothed cat, an animal that had survived 3 ice ages and 2 million years of competitive predation, vanished within centuries of encountering us. In North America alone, over 70% of all large-bodied mammals disappeared after human arrival. Not from climate change, not from disease, from us. And the predators that survived, the wolves, the big cats, the bears, they survived because of one trait, not strength, not speed, caution. This is not a metaphor. This is selection pressure measured across thousands of generations. The wolves that approached human camps were killed. The lions that stalked human settlements were hunted down. Systematically across centuries, across continents. The individuals that kept their distance, that treated the upright silhouette as a signal to disengage rather than engage, those were the ones that reproduced. Those were the ones that passed their wariness forward. And generation after generation, that wariness deepened. It stopped being a decision. It became architecture. It became wiring. In 2019, researchers at the University of California, Santa Cruz discovered something that reframed the conversation entirely. They placed audio speakers in the Santa Cruz mountain territory, and played recordings, not alarms, not gunshots, human voices, people talking, casual, unremarkable human conversation. The pumas fled. They fled at rates equal to, and in some cases exceeding, their response to the sound of barking dogs. And these are animals capable of killing a full-grown deer in seconds. Animals that routinely drag carcasses up near vertical inclines. And the sound of a human being having a conversation sent them running. But the study revealed something even more unsettling. Pumas that were actively feeding, eating they had already killed, calories they had already earned, abandoned their meals when human voices were played nearby. They left the food on the ground and moved away from the sound. From a biological standpoint, that is an extraordinary cost. A predator abandoning a kill is burning energy it cannot replace. And yet the discomfort of proximity to a human voice outweighed hunger. That inherited alarm runs so deep it overrides one of the most fundamental drives in nature. Now consider what you smell like. You have never truly reckoned with this because you are surrounded by other humans constantly. And you have normalized the chemical signature of your own species. But to a predator operating with olfactory hardware that is anywhere from 10 to 100,000 times more sensitive than yours, you are broadcasting an enormous, detailed, and deeply alien signal into the night. Bears possess a sense of smell estimated at 7 times stronger than a bloodhound's. Wolves can detect scent particles from nearly 2 miles away. Big cats carry a specialized organ, the Jacobson's organ, embedded in the roof of their mouths. And when these systems encounter a sleeping human, the data they receive is wrong. You smell like polyester, like processed food, like soap and petroleum-based insect repellent, and the faint chemical ghost of the factory that made your sleeping bag. Underneath all of that, you smell like a primate, which registers, but not as prey. A wolf's predatory response is triggered by the movement patterns of ungulates. A lion's strike mechanism is activated by the shape, speed, and smell of animals it has pursued 10,000 times across its evolutionary memory. You don't fit the template. You are not in the system. And in the calculus of a predator's brain, anomaly does not trigger aggression. It triggers caution. Then there is fire. Humans discovered controlled flames somewhere between 1 and 2 million years ago. And for most of that span, a length of time that dwarfs every civilization, every empire, every written record, sleeping beside fire was not a preference. It was survival protocol. Fire produces one of the only stimuli that generates a near-universal fear response across virtually all terrestrial animals. This is not learned. It is innate. It is older than memory. Laboratory-raised animals that have never encountered flame in their lives display avoidance behavior at the scent of smoke alone. The fear is coded so deep into their evolutionary architecture that it activates without experience, without context, without thought. A campfire does not merely warm you, it broadcasts a signal into the surrounding darkness. Something here controls fire. Something here should be avoided. Predators received that signal before humans developed agriculture, before pottery, before language as we understand it. They have been receiving it for so long that the signal no longer requires interpretation. It triggers avoidance the way gravity triggers falling, automatically, inevitably. But perhaps the most important thing to understand is this. Predators are not what cinema has taught you they are. The image of the apex predator as a fearless, relentless killing machine, attacking anything that moves, driven by bloodlust, is fiction, engineered fiction. Every large predator alive today is an extraordinarily cautious organism because it has to be. A lion does not have a surgeon. A wolf cannot rest for 6 weeks while a fracture heals. One serious injury, so a shattered leg, a punctured eye, a deep laceration, can mean a slow, irreversible death by starvation. Every engagement is a survival equation. Is the caloric return worth the risk of damage? Is this target familiar enough to predict? Is the probability of a clean kill high enough to justify the energy cost? A sleeping human fails this equation at every level, unfamiliar, unpredictable, potentially surrounded by other humans who will respond collectively. Bipedal when upright, a posture that in the animal kingdom is universally associated with threat display. Gorillas stand upright to intimidate. Bears rear up to project dominance. A species that walks like that as its default mode reads as inherently assertive to every predator that encounters it. And there are almost always easier options. A functional ecosystem provides prey that a predator knows, prey that fits its template. Engaging something strange and potentially dangerous when familiar food is available is not instinct. It is desperation. And here is something that will quietly unsettle you. Your sleep is not as deep as you believe. Human sleep moves in cycles, descending into deep, slow-wave restoration, then rising into lighter stages where the brain remains remarkably responsive to external stimuli. Researchers call this the sentinel function. Even in sleep, your brain is filtering environmental input, sorting familiar sounds from unfamiliar ones, flagging shifts in air pressure, detecting the chemical signatures that accompany the approach of something large. The humans who slept too deeply, who failed to register the snap of a branch or the displacement of air by a body moving through darkness, they did not survive to reproduce. The light sleepers did. The ones who could transition from unconscious to vertical in seconds. You are descended from every ancestor who woke up in time. Your sleep is not a vulnerability. It is a compromise, restoration balanced against vigilance, calibrated across hundreds of thousands of years of nocturnal threat. But there is one last dimension to this. And it is the one that should stay with you. We have been so effective at making the natural world afraid of us that our fear, the fear we generate simply by existing, has become an ecological force in itself. The UC Santa Cruz study did not merely show that pumas avoid humans. It documented that this avoidance cascades through entire food webs. When pumas retreat from human-adjacent zones, deer populations in those areas surge unchecked. Vegetation collapses under overgrazing. Medium-sized predators, coyotes, bobcats, foxes, also withdraw, and the rodent populations they regulate begin to expand. Everything shifts, not because we touched it, because we were near it, because the fear we installed into the nervous systems of every large predator on this planet radiates outward through ecosystems like a signal that never stops transmitting. One species, one inherited terror, rippling across the entire living world. So tonight, somewhere on this planet, someone will zip themselves into a thin fabric shell in the middle of a wilderness full of things that could kill them without effort. They will close their eyes, their breathing will slow, their muscles will go still, and outside, in the dark, something ancient and powerful will register their presence. The scent, the sound, the shape of them, and a signal older than language, older than thought, older than anything we would recognize as memory will fire deep in its brainstem. Not this one. Move on. It will turn. It will disappear into the black. And in the morning, the human will wake up and never know how close the darkness came. Never know that the thing which kept them alive was not the tent, not the fire, not their own awareness, but a fear they planted in the bones of another species so long ago that neither side remembers the original wound. Only the scar remains, and the scar is enough.